Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah,
We got it! We got it!
52 book.
somebody clip this for the woman.
Welcome to Under Two Capes. I'm Jared. I'm here with Teladia Plays. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Under Two Capes. So,
And today we are talking about why DC Rebirth failed. And we had to because, and this is like my third video on Rebirth, so screw it. We might as well. So the thing about, so what was DC Rebirth? So in 2011, DC did the new 52 reboot, which is basically, they said, treat it like we'd never published a comic book and just starting from this beginning. So what happened was, it was successful. We had a lot of different events like the Superman and Wonder Woman, Batman, and all that stuff. So,
Court of Owls.
Court of Owls, exactly. So what happened was you started to get fans that were throwing hissy fits, and then you also got to add on to that. You also had creatives that were like, I don't want to write this. And I'm like, then don't write for DC, but beyond that. So what they did is they started as early as Darkseid War, and Teladia will see this when we get to Darkseid War, hinting that something happened when Barry went back in time. In other words, when Barry essentially at the end of Flashpoint, when Barry essentially had to like let his mother die, the timeline was supposed to go back to normal, but someone that happens to be colored blue interfered with the timeline and caused it to like mess up. Yes, it is that blue person you're thinking about right now.
Yes, I think I know who you're on about. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened was, so that's when the first harbinger of it, and here's how I know that. It's literally on a book titled The Road to Rebirth. They killed the new 52 Superman. And
big mistake.
Yeah, that was the first time where I'm like, oh, this is getting very, very bad. Very, very bad. And as it continued on, the problem that it ran into was, so they killed him in the most haphazard way. Like, it's essentially like, let me put it this way. There was a scene where so he has an issue where he says goodbye to each person. So he gets to the Wonder Woman one. Wonder Woman's like, come on, I'll take you to the gods. They'll help you. They've done this before. So Clark is like, nah, this is permanent, Diana. I'm not going to be able to get through this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They just saved you.
It's lazy writing, in my opinion.
Yes, it is. It is very lazy writing. So then, continuing on with that, then they actually do kill him. And that's where we really got some problems here. Like, when they actually killed him, it's basically the way they justified it is, so Clark was poisoned and then he like exploded. They would later retcon it that he didn't necessarily really die, but the point is it got really weird really fast. So then in the middle of Rebirth, we start getting so throughout Rebirth you got these tie-ins to Dr. Manhattan. Yep, spoiler alert, he's the one that changed the timeline. Like, Wally West, the original Wally West, shows up and goes, someone took 5 years away from our lives. Remember how, like, the superheroes had only been superheroes for 5 years?
Yeah, I remember that.
They were retconning it that, like, they'd actually been superheroes for 10 years, but Dr. Manhattan wiped their memories of 5 years.
Why do that in the first place? That's really weird.
I know. It got really bad. So then what happened was then what happened is that then you had the part where Rebirth started to lose me was from the very beginning. Here's why. Take the Wonder Woman book.
Mhm.
Basically, they spent all the amount of time bashing on her relationship with Superman, and actually, Jurgens and Rucka were very much like in line with this. They were like the 1-2 punch of this. Like in Jurgens' book, this is, hey, what's up, Cameron? In
Hey,
Jurgens'
Cameron.
book, this is where you got the idea of like, so there was this line in Action Comics. It was Rebirth Action Comics. I have this issue. I forgot I had this issue, but I have it. Where so Superman and Wonder Woman save Lois. It's written by Jurgens. Here's how I know that. Doomsday makes an appearance in this issue. But anyway, so they save Lois. And then Lois is going, hey, Diana, I know this must be weird seeing Clark with me. And then Diana says, it's not weird. It feels true.
Like I said before, it's poor writing.
Yes, it is. And the problem with that is that it got very vindictive, if you will. And honestly, what I think it was jealousy, because these writers saw that like the continuity that they grew up in and that they liked and that they wrote in was not relevant anymore. So they wanted to try and force it onto people. That's what Rebirth really was. They basically took essentially, hey, Teladia, remember when my complaint for the DC AMU is that they took post-crisis stories and then put them on the new 52 characters?
Yeah,
I
remember that.
With Rebirth. That's what they did with Rebirth. Now, Batman's the only one that I think got some solid stories in there besides Green Lantern. But in the Wonder Woman book, they had it where, so in the first volume, that's where Wonder Woman gets back together with Steve Trevor for the first time. Wait. This is before that issue with cringe dialogue that I read practically every stream on that. But anyway, so they're reminiscing, if you will. And
Okay.
Steve goes, you were always with Superman. And then Diana goes, being with Clark was easy. And I'm like, since when? You detonated a freaking nuke. You almost chopped his head off because he was turning into Doomsday. And some of the Rebirth designs were pretty good. I'll give you that. Except for Superman. The Superman ones suck.
Well, Superman had 2 different designs, but the one design which actually they should have went with, they didn't go with, which was with the red boots altogether, but they had the red outline instead. They went with that.
The red
design.
outline just looked really bad.
It looked really bad.
I like the post Reborn suit because it had like the belt buckle that went all the way around and the red boots. That's where I think if they had stuck with that, I would have been fine with that because it didn't even have the trunks.
But so at the very beginning, Jim Lee drew like 2 different designs, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one with the red outline and the red belt, and the other one being the full red boot and the red belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather had the red boots, the full red boots and the red belt. I would have gone with that design, right?
That could have been a little more because it's just too much blue. But anyway, so that's the first part. Then the cliffhanger of this arc is, so Wonder Woman has a mental breakdown and discovers she has never been back to Paradise Island.
What?
And here's my question. Hey, Teladia, do you know who's been to Paradise Island in this continuity?
Superman.
And Deathstroke. So I'm like, what do you mean she's never been back to... Where did these guys go?
You know what it is? These writers probably didn't read the New 52.
Oh, they definitely didn't. I can guarantee you they didn't. My gosh, they didn't.
I guarantee you they probably thought, oh, well, we'll retcon it. And we'll say, look, we don't want to put anything else from the New 52 in there, right? Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, it's stupid. It is stupid of what they writ. Like, I checked out the new Rebirth, right? I'm not going to lie to you. I checked out Rebirth. And to be honest with you, I really did not like the direction they were going in.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah,
the post-Reborn suit was good. Honestly, I think that's my favorite. Hey, yeah, that works. If they had stuck with that, I would have been fine. DC shills didn't like the New 52. Yeah, exactly. And DC listened to the wrong people. But anyway, so you had that. That's where it first started to lose me. Because I'm like, wait a second here. You're telling me Wonder Woman has never been home. What about the other characters that have been to the island? So where does that work? So then you get to the book Superman and Lois. Oh boy. So the problem with this book, so it presupposes that post-crisis Superman has been in Earth Zero, in the new 52 Earth, the whole time. Here's why that doesn't work, for two reasons. Number one, he didn't do crap when the Anti-Monitor invaded. I get the crime syndicate because he's probably like, the Justice League can handle it. I can even excuse Darkseid because, hey, the Justice League could handle it. No, but Teladia continued into Rebirth. Just hang on. So then you get, and it was labeled Rebirth. So then you get, then this is why, that's the first reason why I call him Coward Superman. The second reason is, so there's a tornado in Smallville, or like wherever he is. You know what he does? He hides with his family in the storm shelter instead of, I don't know, stop the tornado?
Saving the world?
Like he could. And I'm like, dude, Teladia, this is the Superman that fought the Anti-Monitor in Crisis on Infinite Earths. He knows what this guy's capable of.
And another thing, too, is the fact that he fought one-on-one with Doomsday, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the version that faced against Doomsday. So you would have thought, I faced off against Doomsday. I can take the Anti-Monitor for sure. I've done it before. I can do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this time I'm prepped up.
If he did something like that, that's fine. And then Luffy says, I love that Rebirth decided to bring back Hope and family to DC, but they didn't have to get rid of Diana and Clark's relationship. If they kept it, I might have liked it more. Yeah, if they had done Rebirth and like kept that and like said, okay, so Clark and Diana are going to have a kid now. I'd be like, okay, if it's fine. I can check that out.
I had something better.
Yeah, go ahead.
What if they kept the new 52 Superman and the Rebirth Superman intact, right?
Like the New Direction verse?
No. Hear me out. But you remember in the Kingdom Come and the normal Superman were in like mentoring. Well, Kingdom Come Superman was in the mainline continuity in one of the books.
I think so.
Yeah, it was one of those books. I remember seeing it in the Superman comic or something on YouTube.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. You had an older Superman. I know what you're talking about. It's Infinite Crisis because you had, that was Golden Age Superman from Action Comics #1 mentoring post-crisis Superman.
Yeah, he had the gray streaks.
I had that idea. What you could have just done is have, if you think that this guy is not acting like Superman, great. Have the one that you think is the ideal Superman mentor him. That's it. Yes, Tevia, I would have done that. I would have kept both Supermen because you could tell a fantastic story about that. Then you can have a book called Supermen, and it's just them teaming up.
And this way, they could have like Power Girl with Superman from Post Crisis and Supergirl with New 52.
Well, not only that, that way you could have Clark with Lois in one book and Clark with Diana in the other book. Literally everyone gets what they want. That's the part that really pisses me off. They didn't have to get rid of it. They could have literally kept both. And you know what? Capitalized on that because you have a book for one group of the fandom and a book for the other group of the fandom. Like William said when we had him on the show, you give someone options, they're more, I would have been more willing to check out the Clois book.
And as William has said,
yeah, go ahead.
And as William has said time after time after time again, options is the key to success.
Plus, you can't tell me the audience would get confused. We're DC fans. Yeah, DC didn't like their multiverse. They still don't, Kadar. They still don't. Similar to Ultimate. That's my point there. Except you could have had them both in the same continuity. That way, everyone gets what they want. You have a book for one person, a book for the other fandom. You're good to go. Everyone gets what they want. But when you crap on your new audience, because Teladia, New 52 basically saved the company, as I've said before, and the DC documentary said, and you just told all those fans to screw off.
You kind of basically, I'm not going to swear, but say F your fans over, basically.
Exactly. Kind of like this is why I said, it's kind of funny. The first couple episodes of Super Wonder Legacy, you should have heard me. I kept telling Britt, it's hilarious how the ineptitude of WB managing the Snyderverse is mirrored in WB managing DC.
Exactly. And you know what the
It
funny
is
thing is?
uncanny. It's the exact same thing.
And the funny thing is, Snyderverse and the New 52 came out at the same time.
And they're very similar. Have you seen Vayor's outfit?
Have you seen the Superman outfit? Have you seen the Wonder Woman
Imagine
design?
we got Cavill in the armor, in the collar suit. I'm gonna call it the collar suit. That would have been dope.
I've seen the fan edits for that. Oh,
it looks really good. And Gal Gadot in the silver Wonder Woman costume. That's cool. But anyway, so then you get to so now, to be clear, there were some fun stuff with Rebirth. Jessica Cruz and Simon Teladia got their own book. So you had Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. That was like Hal and John. And that was the more classic Green Lantern book. Then you had Jessica Cruz and Simon Bass had their own book, where this is where they really fleshed out Jessica as a character. And that's part of why I love her so much. So it's not like I hate Rebirth. And Tom King's Batman was actually pretty decent for the first 50 issues. And Aquaman was solid. So it wasn't like Rebirth was a total loss. It's just with me, as more of a Superman and Wonder Woman fan, I was pissed off doubly. And Teladia, I'll never forget it. That's when I stopped reading comics until the Snyder Cut was announced. So that was like 2016. From 2016 to 2020, I was out because of Rebirth.
After checking out the first issue of Action Comics, I was out. I was like, nope. Even if you got Doomsday in it, I was like, nope.
I didn't even know who Doomsday was at the time. But my point is, it's like, if you're going to take what I like, throw it away, and then basically tell me to screw off, I'm like, okay, fine. See you later. See you later.
Yeah, I'm like, see you later, alligator. We don't want to...
Cameron says DC fans want new stuff, but only if it fits their headcanon. That is an excellent point. That's what it is.
Excellent point. Because
that's an excellent point. Now, here's what they did do. They started bringing back a lot of new 52 things. Like, did you know the new 52 Superman didn't die?
I saw that in the Rebirth comic, right? I saw something.
So what happened was, this is not in a Rebirth comic. This was in the Sideways comic.
What?
So Sideways is a character that his power is that he can travel throughout the dark multiverse and the regular Earth. So he can like open portals and go through that. So he goes through a portal, and then we see a T-shirt, jeans, Superman. And he basically says, I was sent here. I just remember like exploding or something like that and being sent here. So he's like trying to rally worlds of the dark multiverse. And I'm like, if you guys gave me that book, or how about this? They could have salvaged this. Have post-crisis, have new 52 Clark show up in this new world. Because here's what they did. Then they did a storyline called Superman Reborn. And what this was, all right, and this is the storyline that, according to Dan Jurgens, was intended to get rid of Super Wonder. So here's how they did that. So Mxyzptlk shows up and kidnaps John. Superman and Lois, because you need Lois to be relevant in some way, start traveling through reality to find him. Then what happened was they find him, but actually post-crisis Clark and Lois are like wiped out, if you will. And then what's left is new 52 Superman and Lois. And then they're like, we have to merge with our other selves and stuff. So they merge. Post-crisis and new 52 merge. And this merges the timelines. So what it does is that, so the new 52 Superman suit, you know what that's retconned to be? When Superman came back to life, he needed armor because he was still healing. So that's why he has the armor. It's not armor. That's the thing. DC didn't understand the actual issues with the new 52 and jump. Yes, exactly. To be clear. And Britt and I have said this before. There were problems with the new 52. We're not saying everything was all puppies and rainbows. What we're saying is there was enough, like the Snyderverse. There was enough, literally like the Snyderverse. There was enough to salvage that you could have salvaged it and then adjusted some things. There were room to course correct. DC already has a Spider-Man-like character that's called Static Shock, but that was literally Spider-Man. But anyway. So they merged the two timelines. And then the other thing is like Superman never dated Wonder Woman. Now, here's the funny part about that, Teladia.
It doesn't
In
make
the
sense.
Wonder Woman book written by Steve Orlando, I don't think they told them this. It's retconned back in that Wonder Woman dated Superman. So the two lines, even though they're under the same editorial group, don't talk to each other. In fact, hang on, I'll get the book. So
Guys, this
surprise.
is Jared getting his books now.
I know. Imagine my surprise, Teladia. I'm in a comic book store and I'm picking out some Wonder Woman books, and I pick up this random trade. I want to say this again. I did not know what this was, so I'm flipping through it. flipping through it, and then so there's a storyline where Wonder Woman travels with Maxima to help her like retake her homeworld. So literally, I'm going through this. New 52 Clark. I'm like, wait, what? It's one of those occasions in like a cartoon where a dude goes,
excuse me?
I was like, wait a minute, I thought this wasn't canon anymore. And no, it's actually canon. And that was the part where I was like, what the hell is going on? That's what first told me that they do not talk to each other.
Hey, Brit's here. We gotta play an intro.
Oh, yes, Brit. What's up, Brit? Yes, we're ranting about Rebirth. So there you go. I say Rebirth 3 times and she appears.
He's back.
So Brit says DC could have kept everything separate and separate different timelines, or to Brit's point, made New 52 the Ultimate Universe. There you go. As Marvel has shown, it works.
But
yeah,
like you guys have said multiple times, I think DC have now realized the opportunity to make an Ultimate Universe type, which is going to be the Absolute Universe, and that's only going to be for a year. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. When Superman was reborn, I was like, okay, I get what you guys are doing, but I still think you guys. I still think he still classifies as the coward Superman. I'm sorry.
Oh, he still is, because all that stuff is canon. So
yeah.
And then Rebirth really stopped. You may be wondering, when did Rebirth die? Okay, so what happened is in 2020, they started coming out with a book. Maybe you've heard of it, Doomsday Clock.
Yes.
It got delayed up the yin yang, so they literally course corrected away from it. Because the idea of Doomsday Clock is that Dr. Manhattan interfered, but then he uninterferes. So he goes back in time and uninterferes. Now, what was cool about Doomsday Clock that I appreciate at least, he just took New 52, gave it its own Earth. So it's like all the stories still happened. So I'm like, thank you. Superman is still dated Wonder Woman. And by the way, Enzo brings up a good point. Earth 1 could have been the New 52. Earth 2 as post-crisis. Yeah, that would have worked. DC doesn't even know its own lore anymore. Yeah, exactly. Brett says, also, Superman books won't acknowledge the relationship. They have a hard time acknowledging their friendship pre-New 52 in the Superman books, as well as the status quo. Yeah, exactly. They basically act like Superman, like Wonder Woman and Superman are like strangers. There are people in DC that really don't want to do the multiverse thing because they limit themselves with just 52 Earths. Yeah. Why did Doomsday Clock get delayed? I don't know. That there's no information on that. I think it was because it was hinting at that. I think it was because either Jeff Johns was taking a while writing it or Gary Frank was taking a while drawing it. It was one of those things, but the point is it got delayed to crap. So DC was like, we have to release something. Hey, Scott Snyder, you do what's that book you have called Dark Knight's Metal with the Batman who laughs?
I just had a thought.
Yeah.
What if the reason why Doomsday Clock got delayed is so they could speak to Scott Snyder about building the Absolute Universe?
Well, this was about a year or so. Maybe
because if you think about it, Scott Snyder says he's been working on this for about 3 years now.
That does line up.
So if you think about it, logically, he probably was approached by DC. So would you be interested in making a new universe? Right? build it from scratch, right? It doesn't have to be connected to the mainline continuity. It can be its own thing, right?
No, it doesn't.
So, and that's what he's built upon this. And I think, like, as Cameron has said, in another universe, we got the new direction and the absolute universe.
Yeah, exactly. And Tavia, no, the Heroes in Crisis was not, because it really, the end of Rebirth, when you actually look at like the book stuff, was metal, because that's when they clearly went in a new direction. Because Heroes in Crisis was just, let's screw over Wally West. That's what that book was. Written by Tom King.
That guy.
I know. But all in all, that's why Teladia and I won't cover Rebirth books for the most part. Because it's like, why would we? It's just vindictive crap. And by the way,
it's full of poo. That's what.
Did you know that Dan DiDio, the former publisher of DC, regrets doing Rebirth? Because basically he said, we ended up going back to what made us want to do the reboot in the first place, and DC sales have never recovered.
Yes.
But Barry Allen, yes, we have the Flash now, says Rebirth would have been a lot better if they didn't treat the new 52 like one more day and pretending everything was a mistake from... Yeah, exactly. If they had treated it with a little more respect and said, okay, you know what? We'll just split the universes back up and say, this is the ultimate universe and this is the main one, that would have been fine. I would have taken that, because it's like, okay, you know what? You're still keeping canon stuff.
And you know what you could have done? Is, you know how, remember that one issue in Trinity, in the Trinity book, when they brought back the new 52 Superman? Right? They could have used that as a launching point to canonize the new 52, where they say, oh yeah, he's gone back to his own Earth, and the fact is he's not dead anymore.
Yeah, and then they can just say, for more on those stories, check out our new line, Earth 52. That's what they could call it, because remember at the beginning of the new 52, they had Earth 2. So just call it that. That's basically what they were doing with that. Speaking of Rebirth, I'm just wondering, what are your guys' opinion on Teen Titans? I didn't read any of those.
Can I say something on this?
Yeah.
Everything Rebirth sucks.
Except for Green Lantern and Aquaman. I'm going to push back on that.
Well, everything besides those books, right, sucks, right? That's fact.
Exactly. And then you got, like, so you may be wondering, people point to, like, Rebirth Lois as being this great character. Do you know what she did? She was a housewife making pies and stuff. Not helping at all. Not at all. And yes, Tevye agrees. They had split it up. And then you get what is arguably the poster child of Rebirth, and arguably also a failure of a character, John Kent. Because the problem with that, so you know, the reason why he was created is because it was the justification of, oh, Batman has a kid, Superman should have a kid. I hate that, because it means you're not looking at the story. You're just looking at, well, this happens, we have to have this. Then He Was Not Be Named comes to DC. And he was part of the undoing of that whole storyline in Rebirth, because he screwed up because the idea was originally, so there was this character in Rebirth called Mr. Oz. And the idea was that he was going to be Ozymandias from Watchmen. But He Must Not Be Named came in and said, oh, that's Jor-El. What?
That didn't make any sense.
Turned into a villain. Right, he says, and they let it bleed into the movies. I was annoyed when they had Superman and Wonder Woman break up in a comic with a scene that made no sense. Well, they didn't even do it in the comic. See, here's the thing. DC released a comic called The Death of Superman. And you know what they did, Teladia? It was canon to the DC AMU. It was that comic. But they used the new 52 character designs. So with me, I think that's to show people, oh, they broke up in the comics too. No, they didn't. Even in Tomasi's crappy book, they were still together. So when I look at Rebirth, it's just one bad opportunity after another. It's one bad story idea to another. And they turn him into a stereotype, like when they made him buy and stuff. But that's not really what this is talking about. But they already had Chris Kent. So they already had a kid. But Cameron, you see, the reason why they created John is so Jurgens can get royalties. Hey, what's up, Corey Sims? My day is doing very well. How about yourself?
Yeah, my day is going really well. Thanks.
So, Teladia, Your thoughts on DC Rebirth? I've ranted enough.
I already told you like what I thought about these. I already gave you like a few words of what I think about Rebirth as a summary of what I think is doo-doo, right? It's dog water, right? It's basically because I don't like it at all.
Here's DC Rebirth. You ready?
My point. That's my point.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Okay, so here's the thing. When I was watching that DC Superpower documentary on Max, here's the funny part about that.
Go on.
I'm watching it, and they get to the new 52 part, and I'm really concerned because that they're like, "Oh, we're so great to reinvigorate the company and stuff." I'm waiting, and then it skips over Rebirth completely. Doesn't even mention it. It just ignores it to the point where it got criticized by comic book Twitter saying, why did they talk about Rebirth? It like revitalized the company. I'm like, no, it didn't. Here's the thing about Rebirth also, Teladia. In Britain, I've said this. It would be one thing if Rebirth sold more than New 52. But according to comic book retailer, actually, it was Mr. Oz that made Mr. Oz. Okay. He had Jor-El not like humans, but thought Lois was the only exception. Of course, Jurgens did that.
Of course, Jurgens would do that.
Oh my god, that is so stupid. But Jurgens is overrated as a Superman writer anyway. So, but according to comic book retailers, Teladia, it didn't give them the sales boost that they thought it was going to be. It really was not, and it just overall flattened and flopped. That's the thing.
It flopped like a I can't even speak. Pancake.
I mean, like you playing Spider-Man. I gotcha. There you go. Those of you that don't know what we're talking about, look at the first stream that Teladia did doing Spider-Man 2. But yeah, that's my point. It didn't sell well, and I'm like, gee, telling all your new fans to screw off and catering toward a fan base that so far hasn't really supported you so far, that made you want to reboot, that doesn't work? Oh, really?
But I'm telling you now, everything Superman related in the Rebirth comics failed.
And Wonder Woman,
right?
And here's the thing. They even brought back Greg Rucka, who was like one of the most well-known and well-respected Wonder Woman writers. And he got very like political and stuff. And then I believe it was in Rebirth that they did that Lois Lane book.
Mm-hmm.
They gave a book to Lois Lane. So the plot of this book is she finds out about all the reboots, and she's trying to prove it to people that we've been rebooted a few times. And I'm like, how would Lois know this? And the fun part, Teladia, that's the book. I think I DM'd this to you of me giving it the finger in a Barnes and Noble. Legit, it's a shot of my hand and I have the bird extended. Question: what about all new, all different versus Rebirth? Yeah, but no, it doesn't matter. I'm saying comparatively in DC, it didn't sell well. That's the thing. At least the Lois book was to the Bad of Superman. Exactly. It failed, but it failed for a lot of reasons. Chiefly among them, Lois is not a big character to hold her own series at all, unless it has Superman in the title.
Unless Superman is a prominent character in the book title, she's a redundant. No, not redundant, but she's a character.
Redundant, but still. But it's a lot of If only there was a love interest for Superman who could hold her own book. I wonder who that is. Wonder Woman. She can hold. She's held her own book since the character was invented.
Mind you, right? I'm saying this now. I've already made this prediction with Jared, right? Imagine in the absolute universe, we're getting Wonder Woman and Superman together, right?
Yeah. And then they kill Steve Trevor. Maybe they kill Lois Lane. It'll be so good. And can they have her trip and fall like in Injustice? That'll be fun.
And become dead woman.
Nope. Don't give her any powers. Do not make it any cooler. Do not make it cool, Teladia. Do not make it cool.
I'm joking. I'm only joking. Anyway, but it's like the way I see it is like what Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She.
Hey, we're not logging off yet. We're not
I
logging
know.
off yet.
No, I'm not. I know, but I'm just saying she is Lois Lane
Yeah.
for a reason, right?
Mhm.
Because
feel-
sorry, go on.
I feel DC movies not doing good or well received hindered the comics a lot. Well, it doesn't really when you think about it, when you look at that, the movies don't really influence the comics as much as DC and Marvel would think it is. So that's it. I enjoy Superman and Wonder Woman book in the modern day because I think they aren't outright romantic. The chemistry is on point enough to catch my eye. Even Tom King couldn't mess it up. Yeah. And then Kirby Furby says, "I'm tired of the thing destroyed thing." Well, it's true. So
It's
I don't know
true.
what to tell you, dude. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. So there's nothing you can really say because where Rebirth failed, New 52 succeeded.
Yeah,
right?
because you can look at like the sales decline and see like a fair decline. As soon as Rebirth started, sales were declining anyway because again there were issues with the new 52. The problem is that instead of fixing those issues, they just threw it out. And yes, the Snyderverse would have been all right if they hadn't. Yeah, exactly. Of course, speaking of Rebirth, it reminds me, I'm wondering, how would you guys? Well, I wouldn't have hired.
I wouldn't have hired him. Simple.
Bendis at all. No, I wouldn't have brought him in. So those runs would never have happened.
He who must not be named.
Again, you know what's kind of funny? Jay Heat and I did a video where it's what if He Who Must Not Be Named came to DC. And when you think of the second to third order effects, it was like a nuclear bomb went off because, yeah, he came to DC. Then he brought other writers that ruined books at DC. And then Lois Lane is a pretty good character. She just has the problem that DC wants to make her more than she is. And by the way, Kirby says, "Who's Naomi?" Exactly. Where it says, "Convergence screwed up the trade sales. Rebirth made it worse." Yeah, What I always say is that Convergence was the defining point when they knew they had to have those, and they knew they had to have those changes.
I'll say this right as well. Even towards the end of the New 52, it still outsold Rebirth in numbers flat out, right? And no matter what you guys say, the numbers are there in black and white. It literally says how much New 52 sold even after the continuity finished and when the Rebirth came into the fold, right? That's the way I see it. You can't make it up. It's there. It's factual now, right? I'm just saying, as a New 52 fan, it's like it shows everything that what DC messed up on and what DC had going all right for them, right? This is why I'm giving the Absolute Universe a chance, is because they might pull a rabbit out of the hat with this universe.
Okay, so Kirby, I can explain it this way. So He Who Must Not Be Named came to DC and he wanted to invent a new character. She's a tribute to Dwayne McDuffie. But the problem with He Who Must Not Be Named is that when he invents a character, he tries to force them into everything. Like Naomi was on the Justice League.
I remember that. Yeah, that
and I'm like,
idea.
No, that sucks. Right, Terry says, speaking of New 52, I'm curious, how would you have ended the New 52 to go to Rebirth? You had no choice. I would have fixed the issues with the New 52, so I don't have to end it. Really simple. That's what I would have done. If he has no choice, how is that a question? Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't have let it get to the point where I didn't have a choice. And here's the point of this episode. DC had a choice. They didn't have to reboot. It would be one thing if the universe was like crumbling and it was like really in the gutter. It didn't.
Here's what I'll also add as well. They shouldn't have done Dawn of DC. They shouldn't have done any of the things after Rebirth, right? What they should have done is rebooted straight away after Rebirth. Full hardcore reboot. Forget the soft reboot. Fully hardcore reboot. You have a 10-year plan there.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. Is to definitely do a reboot, wipe out everything Rebirth, and just move on. And Naomi got a Naomi got a show over Wonder Woman again. I don't like the Death of Superman movie that came out a few years ago. Yeah, you know why you don't like that? Well, so here's why I don't like it. That's when they started to force in like post-crisis stuff into a new 52 universe. Sound familiar?
No, but he's not talking about the camera version. He's talking about the 07 version.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that one sucked too, because they did a lot of weird stuff in that. So yes, Naomi is he was not be named stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's interesting. So I think for before we wrap up, let's do a brief Q&A. So you guys can ask us questions on any of the topics that we discussed tonight, and any questions you have about New 52 Rebirth. Let's go. Let's see what you got. And by
Kevin
the way,
says, actually, Teladia, it's a good point. And honestly, if Doomsday Clock was made for reboot DC Comics, yes. You see, I make great points. DC, hire me, because I've got some really good points for DC.
Hire me too. I could fax your entire Wonder Woman line. Step 1, get rid of Tom King.
Step 2, make Wonder Woman in relationship with Superman.
Step 3, kill Steve Trevor. You're already doing step 3. Barry Allen says, why was one of the best parts of that movie Clark coming to help Diana as she faced down Doomsday? The bond is there even when you break them up. Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is like, here's the other reason with that movie. Are you ready? The other problem. Okay, so the death of Superman, the reason why Superman was the only one that could fight Doomsday is because the Justice League was a bunch of D-listers. In other words, Booster Gold, Fire, Ice, and stuff. In the movie, it's the Justice League that could actually do something against Doomsday. Like Aquaman, Green Lantern, The Flash, frickin' Wonder Woman. So I'm like, wait a second here. These guys could actually fight Doomsday, and they're getting their ass kicked. It's different than it was in the comic. And another thing, don't adapt the death of Superman. Lois was really awkward facing Wonder Woman. Oh, you mean when... and Teladia, remember this line from actually it was Reign of the Superman. What Clark and I had was special, but he really loved you, Lois.
That was cringe.
Yeah, the entire thing was cringe, and they did that because James Tucker was like, "Oh yeah, Lois plays a very important role in the death of Superman." I'm like, "No, she doesn't." Question. Speaking of Rebirth, I'm wondering if you guys' opinion on Suicide Squad versus Justice League is the book, not the game. Teladia, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, I know.
It was a pretty good book. I enjoyed that one. So again, there were some fun Rebirth books. Like Justice League was actually pretty good, but still. Why do you guys think DC Comics are afraid to hire fans and let them handle the character? Because honestly, it's a good question. Because I think the issue is that they don't want to get rid of like Jurgens and Mark Waid and stuff, because that's what we require. That's what I think. And Britt says they just wanted to make Doomsday seem so threatening. But against that's the I see what you're saying, Britt, but the issue is like when you look at the lineup of the Justice League, it's the one that could actually do it. Honestly, DC should, yeah.
So the thing I'll say is that the way, like I said before, the way they could have done it is they could have easily scrapped Rebirth towards the end of Rebirth and hard reboot everything, right? Because I would have got rid of everybody: Mark Waid, Tom King, Tom Taylor.
Requirement to get rid of Mark Waid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the reason is, right, I don't like Mark Waid as a person. Like he's an obnoxious person, but
apparently he has anger issues, and it's been well documented. He mocked a murder victim in his comics. So Lois is there crying and screaming. There's almost no major Superman impact. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or Barry, how about this? You have that. You can still do the death of Superman. Have Wonder Woman react to that. And have them be dating, how she deals with losing her boyfriend stuff. Tom King also has to go. Good idea. Similar to Earth 1, which basically was the DC, except they didn't treat it like a universe. That's the problem. And Tom Taylor, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because this is why it's taken DC such a long time to make their Ultimate Universe right now. Quite a long time. Now they've got an Ultimate Universe. I know Jared is not a big advocate for the Absolute Batman book at all. Same with Nick.
Absolute Superman and Wonder Woman, I'm an advocate for.
Yeah. You see, if they made changes to the Absolute Batman, in let's say later down the line, maybe Jared will get into that.
Slim him down. Don't give Batman an axe, so he's Axeman. I'm like, no, I hate that.
Maybe give him like gauntlets and actual gauntlets, you know, like in Batman Begins.
And don't give him a stupid cape that looks like stilts. But still,
no. Maybe like what's the Riddler from Batman Forever? At the ending of Batman Forever, he does that thing. He goes, "I'm the Batman."
Absolute Batman is not Batman. He's man. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean, Jared? Like in Batman Forever at the end, when the Riddler goes, "I'm Batman," and he has like his straight jacket.
Oh yeah, he's like flapping. Yeah, I love that. Question: what about Scott Snyder's Justice League? Because I think that one was also doing Rebirth. I enjoyed that for the most part. I always enjoy a Snyder handling Justice League.
Scott does a good job, right? I haven't got a problem with Scott, right?
Yeah, he's a good writer.
He's a good writer, right?
And what's the use of all those gay characters if they used in post Rebirth when the Absolute Universe is here? Well, here's the thing: they do that, and the reasoning was actually iterated by like Dan Slott, and the reasoning that they change all the gender and sexual orientation of these characters is because they do it because they're too lazy to make their own characters. That's what it is. Enzo says, do you all think the Bat family has way too many members or not? Yep. The minute Harley Quinn becomes a member of the Bat family, that's when I draw the line. I'm like, no, she has contributed to the death of Jason Todd. Nope.
No, you can't bring Harley Quinn into the fold of the Bat family. That's a bit dumb. Same as let's say you bring, I don't know, John Kent's boyfriend into the fold of the Hero.
That they've been trying to do that, it hasn't worked, and I'm like, they do it for money. Companies don't get, they don't care about representation. The thing is that it's backfired on them. So really, a lot of them are like.
And another thing,
go ahead.
Another thing too, John Kent was more in the news for bad reasons for DC than mainline New 52 ever was. Right? It was in the public eye. It was in the public eye because I got nothing against people that are gay or anything, right? But the character was Superman as identified as, when they made John Kent Superman, I'm like, no, you don't do that, right?
Particularly when you kept the original Superman, that's the other issue. Because I'm like, no, that doesn't work. How do you guys feel about the Harley Quinn Poison Ivy romance? I mean, I'm indifferent of it. I'm not that's the one ship that I really don't care about because I'm not really that big of a fan of Harley Quinn. I think she's oversaturated and stuff. So that's really the issue. Clark and or Diana losing each other would be far more impactful because it's such a predictable trope of them having a human love interest and die, but being powerful beings together facing death is different. Yeah, exactly. And obviously we'll still bring Superman back, but imagine Wonder Woman has to like lose him, or like remember when she almost had to kill him in Superman Doom, Teladia? Imagine they did that. What about Connor Kent Superboy? What about him if you were able to bring him back? I wouldn't have brought him back in the 90s outfit. I would have kept the t-shirt and jeans. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, same. I would have kept him in the t-shirt and jeans. There's no point of going back to retro. I know like the keyboard warriors think, going back all the retro stuff is actually going to make the sales. It doesn't, guys. It doesn't, guys. And that's a fact. Why do you think they're doing a new universe, guys? Why do you think the mainline continuity right now is suffering? It's losing numbers. It's because they haven't got anything to stick. They basically what's his name? Toby Emmerich, Walter Hamada-ing it, which is basically throwing anything at the wall and see if whatever sticks at the wall, right? That's what they're trying to do in the comics, and it's backfired on them drastically. That's why they're making the Absolute Universe. Am I right? Am I wrong, Jared?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, seeing the reception to like the Absolute stuff, I don't even think it's going to be that helpful to DC, honestly, because the question is, and I'll tease this, but we're going to talk about it on the Legacy episode when we talk about that. Thoughts on Wonder Woman 3000? Oh, you mean the Justice League 3000 book that was like in the new 52? That was pretty good. So
I like that new 52 Justice League 3000.
Yeah, that was good. But so the question that we're gonna ask, that we're gonna talk about when we talk about the Absolute on Super Wonder Legacy is, what happens to DC if the Absolute universe and everything fails? That's what I really want to talk about. Question: speaking of DC, joining, what was your guys' favorite DC Rebirth event or DC comic? I said Green Lantern. I'm not talking about Marvel on this.
Yeah, we're not talking about Marvel. It's DC. This is the DC podcast. Come on, guys. You should.
It's not a DC podcast. It's a DC topic. I'm not really talking about Marvel.
Yeah, it's like it's a DC topic, guys. We're not talking about Marvel. But anyway, I have no events for Rebirth, to be honest with you. Right? After they lost me after Doomsday. If that doesn't say anything, I don't know what does, right? Even the flipping Lex War suit, that lost me as well.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll talk about that in the Absolute Universe by Teladia is going to be on that, and it will be another live stream. So be sure to check that out. So I think that's a good place to leave it. We're going to start wrapping it up. And so all in all, this is where DC really lost a lot of people. So that's I'm going to say that. So Teladia, where can we find you, and what have you got coming on your channel?
So, guys, you can check me out on YouTube at Teladia Plays and on X at Teladia Plays _. What I got coming up on my channel is this weekend on a Sunday, I will be doing a live reaction to Batman Cape Crusader. Next week, it's Snyder Fans Read Comics, a new 52, Justice League. I think it's Darkseid War now, Jared, or was it?
No. We have, I think, 1 or 2 more arcs before we do Darkseid War.
Okay, so we'll be doing Forever Evil.
But they're really good arcs.
So you guys want to tune in onto my channel for that, because myself and Jared will be definitely talking about that. And then obviously after this stuff, I'll be doing some streams, with other people like William from the Sci-Fi Center and Chainsaw Reacts and all of that, networking with them. So you'll see me around their channels. So that's what I got coming up.
My goof, he was gonna ask if you have a T-Series logo behind you, Teladia. No, that's his logo.
That's my logo. There you go.
W Stream, thank you. Dope Stream, guys, thank you very much. If it fails, the public might just label Scott's another Snyder's flop. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So as for Comics League, for movie night, we're going to be talking about Jurassic Park. For Super Wonder, Britt and I are going to talk about if Christopher Reeve's Superman crossed over with Linda Carter. So we've got that. And for Under Two Capes next week, we'll think about what we want to do for that. But for movie night, we're going to be talking about Transformers, the 80s movie. And for Super Wonder next week, next week is going to be the Absolute stream. So be on the lookout for that. So stay heroic, everyone. Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod and the Alien Queen. Zois and Max about for life. We will see you.